Hi guys, so here Anwari here, co-founder of Sublime Trading, here with your daily update for the UK and US indices for Monday the 11th of May. Alright guys, hope you had a lovely weekend. Let's have a quick catch up with what happened last week, starting with the FTSE 100. We had a bullish end to the week. Friday was a bank holiday, so Thursday was the last day of the week. We did have a bullish end to the day. We've seen further strength at the start of today, but price still finding resistance at that 6,000 round number. We need to see price break through that round number for price to suggest further strength to the upside. So a little bit of patience needed on that. Moving on to the US indices, the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq all saw bullishness last week. However, the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 still need to break above the high of last month to suggest further strength. The Nasdaq is really leading the way. It's broken through the 9,000 round number. It's trading above the high of last month, so it's now looking to move towards the all-time high. So really interesting times on the indices, particularly in the US market. The US market tends to lead the way and the UK follows. So the fact that we are seeing further bullishness on the US indices and the UK lagging behind is not surprising. Still a little bit too early to start opening up long positions. We want to see the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 break through the daily 200 simple moving average really at the very earliest to suggest that we are in a bullish market. So still a little bit of patience needed for now. This is really where a lot of traders become unstuck. It's that idea of patience. It eludes a lot of people, but it's a key skill to becoming a very, very good trader. If you don't master patience, then you'll struggle to see consistent results. So with that said, let's get into the chart. Let's catch up with what happened last week. Let's look at what could potentially happen through to the rest of today and also into the rest of the week. So guys, if you're new to these daily updates, then I recommend starting with the recording that's pinned to the top of our Facebook page, so you get a very good understanding in what I go through in this chart section. Okay, so as always, this is our 3-screen setup. We have the monthly in the top left, we have the weekly in the top right, and we have our daily chart down here across the bottom. Starting with the FTSE 100, if we look at the month of May, we can see that the bulls have started coming in and pushing price up, but it's that 6,000 round number that I mentioned, which is currently acting as an area of resistance. We can see that in more detail on the weekly time frame. Price is below the 200 moving average and below the 50 simple moving average. This is this pullback that price is currently in play. What we want to get a clearer picture of, or a clearer indication of, is whether this is a temporary pullback before a continuation to the downside, or whether we're going to see strength back up to the 200 moving average. And that's really when the 6,000 round number and the high of April is cleared. That will then give us a clearer indication of potential further strength. If this area holds strong as resistance, then we could see weakness back to the downside. If we come down to the daily time frame, price is below the 200 moving average, but finding support at the 50 and the 20 simple moving average. So we can see that price is stuck between the 6,000 round number as resistance and these moving averages as support. So we want to see a clear breakout from this particular area, this squeeze that price is in. And ideally, as the trend overall is, this current movement since March has been bullish, we really want to see a breakout to the upside and then strength back to the 200 moving average. Okay, moving to the US indices, starting with the Dow Jones, starting with the monthly, we can see that May is starting to now look bullish. So potentially we could be seeing strength back towards that high of 2019. If we move across to the weekly time frame, we can see that last week closed above the 200 moving average, although it still has to break through the high of April and trading below the 50 simple moving average. If we come down to the daily time frame, price is below the 200 moving average but above the 20 and the 50 simple moving averages. We can see Thursday's bar, we had a gap up, bullish bar on Thursday, but we still want to see that high of April clear to suggest strength to the upside. A similar setup on the S&P 500, starting with the monthly. We can see that the month of May is starting to look bullish, but still price is trading below that 3,000 round number. Now, on the weekly, price is above the 200 moving average, but below the 50 simple moving average. We can see a bullish week last week. We want to see the high of April cleared and the 50 simple moving average and that 3,000 round number cleared to suggest strength to the all-time high. We want to see the same on the daily. We want to see price cleared through the 200 moving average, which is also coupled with the 3,000 round number to suggest strength back to the all-time high. Again, looking at Thursday's bar, we had Friday's bar last week. We had a gap up. Price is above the 20 simple moving average and the 50 simple moving average. If price clears this resistance level ahead, then we're likely to see further strength back to the all-time high. Now, the Nasdaq is, as already mentioned, is very much leading the way. We can see the month of May is now trading above the high of last year, which is acting as support. Quite a bullish looking month in May so far, and above that 9,000 round number. So potentially we could now be seeing strength back to the all-time high. On the weekly, price above the 200 moving average, the 50 simple moving average. Price last week closed above the high of April. We can see a good looking bullish bar and above that 9,000 round number. So strong looking price action for the bulls on the weekly and the Nasdaq in general. On the daily time frame, we can see the end of week, another gap up, bullish end to last week, which took price through that 9,000 round number convincingly, and prices above all three moving averages. We can see how the 20 simple moving average is acting as support. So the Nasdaq really leading the way in comparison to the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. But if the Nasdaq continues towards that all-time high, then we can expect the other two indices to follow. So let's have a look at the S&P 500 mini to get an idea of pre-market action. So far, May still hasn't broken through the high of last month and that 3,000 round number, so waiting for that to happen. On the weekly, price is above the 200 moving average, but below the 50 simple moving average. And on the daily, price is below the 200 moving average, which is also coupled with that 3,000 round number, but finding support at the 20 simple moving average. So, if we look at Monday's price action, it's a bearish candlestick so far, but this means very little. As already mentioned, it's always the end of day candlestick that gives us a much clearer idea of what we could expect through to tomorrow and the rest of the week. But for now, waiting for the high of April and the 200 moving average, the 3,000 round number and the 50 simple moving average on the weekly time frame all to be cleared and confirmed as support to then suggest further strength to the upside. So really standing aside until we get a clear move, a decisive move and a clear direction before we can then start looking at particular stocks that we want to invest in. Okay, that's me for today, guys. Please like, comment and share. Let's get these recordings out there. Let's get people understanding how to use the indices correctly to build a solid investment portfolio, and I will see you on tomorrow's recording.